Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the New England Patriots in today's video. The Super Bowl was yesterday. Obviously, the Seattle Seahawks won it. Talked about it over on the main channel. And the Super Bowl, man, losing the Super Bowl has got to suck. It's got to be one of the worst feelings in the entire world. Losing any championship series has got to suck. Like, I'm a Bulls fan. I don't remember the Bulls ever losing an NBA Finals because I wasn't born for any of them. Blackhawks won all three growing up. Green Bay Packers won against Pittsburgh 15 years ago. Chicago Cubs, I got to witness the World Series in 2016. I've had it pretty decent as a sports fan. And so I was texting some buddies yesterday, like a Falcons fan and a Bears fan. I was like, man, dude, I kind of feel bad for you guys today. The Super Bowl is so special. It's so magical. You know, usually so the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl last season, and I felt like, honestly, morale was pretty low for him. It was kind of like, is this it? Is this the end of the days? Is the dynasty over? Is Mahomes and this Kansas City Chief domination, is it over? And obviously, they missed the playoffs this season. And you have like Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions a couple of years ago, a game away from making it to the Super Bowl. They lose, and the famous presser where he's like, we might have just blown our one and only opportunity, because as much as people want to make fun of the New England Patriots' strength of schedule and everything, just what it takes to get to the Super Bowl, no matter who you play or who you don't play or who gets hurt or who doesn't get hurt. I mean, a lot of things need to happen for you to get all the way to the big game. So it's understandable to have some questions about the future, but I honestly have no questions about the New England Patriots' future. Like, I get it if you want to take a Dan Marino stance. So Dan Marino was the youngest starting quarterback in Super Bowl history, okay? Drake May was the second youngest in Super Bowl history. Famously, Dan Marino never made it back to the Super Bowl, okay? Youngest Super Bowl appearance as a quarterback, never makes it back. But if you go back to the Miami Dolphins and, Dan Marino, that was organizationally botched by them. I don't think the New England Patriots organizationally are going to botch Drake May and his opportunities and this team's opportunities to get back to this game. So I feel a lot better, a lot more confident about the future of the New England Patriots than I feel like I usually do about teams that lose in conference championships and lose in the Super Bowls, because, Drake May played through an injury. There's going to be some free agents. Like, the Patriots went from a 4-win team to a 13-win team. So you have a lot of guys on one-year contracts. You have a lot of guys that were new faces. You have a lot of guys that you're going to need to pay. You're going to have a lot of guys that you want to pay. That defense could look different next season. The roster could look different next season. What I don't want to see is I don't want to see a Washington Commander thing where you've got this young rookie phenom. I get it, Drake May sophomore campaign. But what Washington did 2 years ago was similar sense, spent a bunch of money in free agency. A lot of it came defensively, and they just didn't bring a lot of guys back. And so what ends up happening, look at it on paper. I get it. Jaden Daniels was injured and the Commanders season was a complete wash. Look at that defensive roster. I mean, it's not as good as it was 1 year ago. So you want to stay hungry. You got to keep your foot on the gas. And when I look at Mike Vrabel and I look at Drake May, I know they will. This is a very professional, well-organized organization. So I don't have any concerns moving forward, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more. I guess we just did for 4 minutes. Welcome back, or welcome. As always, hit that like button, hit that sub button. We are, I think, 70 subscribers away from 200, our goal by the end of February, so your subscribe does go a very long way. Thank you. Took a couple of days off, had a kind of shitty weekend. I don't know, sometimes you just don't have it. I definitely didn't have it this past weekend. And now we're officially into the NFL offseason, and it's kind of exciting. I know the Patriots, like that loss, the way you guys lost that game, no touchdowns up until the fourth quarter. Your defense did such a great job. They gave up only 9 points heading into the fourth quarter, 0 touchdowns allowed. You had plenty of opportunities to get back into that game, and obviously that's not the way you want it to go. So, all right, excuse me. There are clear holes with this roster, okay? I'll start offensively. They need more help. Drake May needs more help. Drake May also needed more experience. that Seattle defense, it's historic. It's a historic defense. I made our Super Bowl recap video yesterday talking about it. Like, it's a tough draw for New England because you're going to hear so many jokes about their strength of schedule, and you're just going to hear so much about how they were frauds and whatever. It's not true. Any team that matched up against Seattle, it would have had a similar outcome. You know, look at any game outside of the Seahawks have played the Los Angeles Rams 3 times this season. If you go back and you look at, if you take rid of those 3 games against the Rams, 2 regular season and conference championship, it's not easy to beat Seattle. And in fact, most teams got blown out by the Seattle Seahawks. It's why they led the NFL in point differential. It's why they've got the number 1 scoring defense when you take out those Rams games. When you take out the Los Angeles Rams 3 Seahawks games, they were by far, not even close, the best team in the National Football League. Domination. So it sucks. But clear holes. I think Drake May needs more weapons. I think, Stephon Diggs, I think he's about to turn 33. Could be 32, but I'm pretty positive he's about to turn 33. He was a very capable, competent wide receiver 1, which I was not expecting from him this past season because he's coming off a torn ACL. Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins, these guys are talented. Demario Douglas, these guys are talented. But I do think Stephon's turning 33. You've got a couple of youngsters in there, like Kyle Williams. I think something a little bit more solidified. Not Brandon Ayuk necessarily, not George Pickens because they just franchise tagged him, but go out there and solidify that wide receiver room. I don't know if it'll be through the draft or free agency, but I know they're going to try to just improve that receiver room a little bit. Tight end, very similar. Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper, very talented. Stephon Diggs was the leading receiver for the New England Patriots, a little over 1,000 receiving yards. Number 2 on the team was Hunter Henry, okay? He had, I think, 571. Tight end is your second leading receiver at 500 yards. You know what I mean? I want to bolster that room up a little bit if I'm them. I feel like I had the contract here. Let's see here. Because I know they're going to be extending a lot of players here. I thought I knew if Austin Hooper, I feel like Austin Hooper is a free agent. I feel like Hunter Henry is a free agent as well. I don't really remember. Either way, that tight end room and wide receiver room, whatever it looks like, however it's done, just bolster it a little bit more. And I feel like most Pats fans would agree with that. Left side of the offensive line. I'm not a big dude. Every person that I respected as far as scouts and that type of thing going, Will Campbell, everyone told me he was a guard. Everybody told me Will Campbell was an elite left guard. He had a good regular season, and then in the playoffs, catastrophic. He gave up 14 pressures yesterday, the most in Super Bowl history. It might have been the most in NFL history. Jared Wilson, also gave up a bunch of pressures at left guard. They sacked Drake May 6 total times in that football game. They were all over his face, but that left side of the offensive line is going to need some tweaking. And like I said, I still kind of feel, and it's been kind of shown here, that Will Campbell's an elite left guard. And so whatever you want to do with that, do whatever you want to do with it. But I have a feeling that a new left tackle will be playing for this New England Patriots team next season because, once again, I think Will Campbell is an elite left guard. Defensive line as well, similar in the sense of it's solid. You've got a solid D-line. Like Milton Williams last night was doing his thing. Harold Landry played through an injury. Barmore, Chizon, free agent, $3 million contract. What an absolute steal. Robert Spillane had an unbelievably great season here. It was a good defense. It was an underrated defense, and they need a little bit more in the pass rush. That's just it. They need a little bit more in the pass rush, a little bit more of a bolster there, whether that comes in the draft or in free agency. I would probably guess more so the draft for most of Patriots' moves because they spent a ton of cap space last offseason. Let's see where they're projected right here. Minus $12.5 million. They'll be able to work around that pretty well. But I don't expect huge, crazy splash signings from this Patriots team in the offseason. And at the end of the day, man, Drake May, that was a very humbling playoff experience. And Bill Parcells has the famous quote where, you want to learn who your quarterback is. Don't look at your quarterback when he throws 3 touchdowns and when it wins the game. Take a look at your QB when he throws 3 picks and loses the game. And Drake May's fighting back tears on the podium, and Drake May's got a very good head on his shoulders. Is that how that is said? He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's a good kid, man. It's clear as day. Drake May's a good kid. He's a worker. He's a grinder. He knows what he's doing. And now it's time to just kind of perfect that craft, hone in on that craft. I saw Matt Hasselbeck talking today about, maybe look into some stuff like Phillip Rivers did. Tom Brady, most famously, line of scrimmage, knowing the defense, knowing what they're sending, having options, having, perfectionists pretty much in practice. Knowing what the defense is going to give you, knowing what they can give you, knowing what to do if they do this, knowing what to do if they do that, and just perfecting and honing in on your craft, man. At the end of the day, Drake May was only a 1-year starter. He's only been a starter in the NFL for a year and a half, and it's a devastating end of the season. Like I said, I really can't comprehend it. I feel bad for you guys, but the future's bright. The future is extremely bright in New England. So that's it. That's all I got. I wanted to talk Patriots football here. Let's see if I had anything in the note that stood out here. Let's see here. Patriots went from 4-13 to 13-4. The Buffalo Bills had won 5 straight divisions before this, and New England just won it. I think that's huge. And so, like I said, and as you can see, the momentum's on New England's side, and the future's bright. So, thank you for watching. Rambling on here. Thank you for watching. Just said that twice. We're really rambling on. Hit that like button. Hit that sub button, as always. But let me know your thoughts on the future and what we just saw of the New England Patriots. Have a nice rest of your day. Peace.